select 2 here, because we have 2 scenarios, we are going to run the first simulation with this set, the cheaper option values, and the second with the expensive option values. So we'll be able to compare what's the impact on the NPV of each different policy. And this is a very extremely useful feature, typically. So to do that, you need to bear in mind that you have to choose as many simulations as you have scenarios, right? So I could have added a third or a fourth scenario, but if I add 4 scenarios, I need to put here 4 simulations, okay? In this case, I only have 2, and we are going to run 1,000 iterations of each scenario or each simulation. So let's see how that works. For the first 1,000, I'm going to have here 100,000, 50,000, 100,000, 130, you can see, and then we will change to this other set of values. So I click simulate here, and it goes really quickly. I can see the results, and because I have taken care of naming each scenario, right? I can see that the cheaper option, right, so gives me a very high probability of making an NPV lower than 0, right? But what happens when I use the expensive option? When I consider the expensive option, is even worse. The increase in revenue doesn't make up for the doubling the capital investment. And what I can do here is I can add an overlay. Sorry. I can view both simulations and compare the graphs of both, one against the other, in order to conclude basically that that probably my expensive option is no good, because my probability of making a loss increases substantially compared to option 1. Okay, so this feature is very useful, Simtable. There is one thing we should say. I'll finish in a few minutes. First of all, remember to put as many simulations as cases you have built. Second, when you choose your iterations, here you can put any number of iterations, 3, 4, 4, 4, or whatever number of iterations you take the fancy. I'm telling you this because some customers some time ago thought that only this fixed number of iterations were possible, and this is not the case. You can enter the number of iterations that you want to do. You can do 1 million, you can do 2 million, whatever takes you fancy. The other thing is, if you put that in auto, and then the settings are, you set the convergence monitor, you will let at risk, based on some convergence criteria, calculate how many iterations are necessary in order to get statistically meaningful results. Okay, so remember, the auto option is for that, but otherwise, if you just run 5,000, 10,000 iterations, in most problems is more than enough. Let's see now a couple of features as well, which are very useful. I can, for example, these are the individual cash flows at the end of the year, right? If I select those as outputs, right, in addition to my NPV output, then when I run the simulation, I will be able to get a couple of graphs that some users might find it useful. For example, explore summary trend. Here you can see a propagation